For Off the Block, I'm Vinny Lopes, and we are now joined by my College Volleyball Weekly partners over here. We have Jay Hosick of George Mason and Rob Aspero of, just about everything volleyball related. So, guys, I got to ask you here, we got everything we've been waiting for. The NCAA Tournament finals are coming up here. We're here talking about them on Friday, but they're going to take place on Saturday night. It almost feels like, for me, I want to get your thoughts, it feels like these are the two best teams throughout the season, with all due respect to a couple others. These are the two best teams. It just seems right that they're playing for the national championship.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I know BYU has been a team that's been in the mix for a long time, but my bracket, when we had our conversation on the Net Live the other day, this is the final two teams that I called in the finals, and for the right reasons. And I'll tell you what, hats off to Ohio State. Hats off to now I'm drawing a blank. Who's the other semifinal? BYU. Geez Louise, I'm sorry, BYU. Hats off to BYU and Ohio State. They played phenomenal semifinal matches. Their seasons are to be commended. They did great jobs. I know no one wants to end their season like that, but the reality is that doesn't take away from the body of work that they did all the year. So, for us fans to be able to watch two really high-level semifinal matches of four teams trying to get after it and get into the finals, the fans were treated to an absolute treat of volleyball. And so, real fun to watch and real excited for Saturday night.
Now, Rob, Vinny, what's that?
Oh, keep going, Rob. Sorry.
Okay. Well, so, I went into the weekend thinking, there are definitely some certainties, and definitely Long Beach State was one of them. But I'll have to say, with the way Ohio State played last night, there was a moment where I believe it was in the third set that Long Beach was kind of shocked that Ohio State was running with them and keeping up with them. And Ohio State was playing phenomenally well behind the arm of Jake Haynes. But, you had the consistency of Sherjan and Maxine Havois, chipped in here and there, but they were taking over. And Long Beach State was like, gosh, these guys they're not going away. And you can kind of see there's I don't want to say stun, that's a little overemphasis on, but they were hanging tight. And I honestly thought it was going to go to a fifth set. So, hats off to Ohio State. They played their hearts out. And such a fun and entertaining group of guys that play the game. So,
yeah. Now, I want to ask you guys, one of the stats that's jumped out to me is UCLA. They have somehow won 2 NCAA tournament games despite having more than 20 service errors in both of those games. I'm getting the sense, though, that their serving is going to have to clean up, though, going up against Long Beach State.
Well, here's the reality. Anybody out there who thinks that men's volleyball has too many missed serves and doesn't understand why they're being so aggressive all the time, you have no idea what you're actually trying to watch. The reality is, imagine in tennis, if you're playing the number one ranked, if you're playing Federer right now and all you do is serve second serves at him, you're going to get crushed. He's going to shove it down his throat. And you've got to be able to serve first serves and put pressure on them to have to return it. And that's what we have to do in this game. The service line is an attack line. It just happens to be 30 feet behind. And the teams that are successful on most nights maybe don't make the most serves, and maybe they miss the majority. But what they do is they beat the other team off the line, and they become out of system, and that's where you really have the advantage. When a team is in system a majority of the time, you're in a real disadvantage because your blockers are going to be stressed, your defense is going to be stressed, and the attackers on the other side are going to be in rhythm. So you have to be aggressive in serves. Ladies and gentlemen who is listening to this podcast, get over the fact that there are going to be matches that men's volleyball teams are going to miss a lot of serves. On average, 4 to 7 serves a game. It's just the way that it works. Good games, maybe there's 2 or 3, but there's really not much less than that. It's just the way the game is. And until anything changes rule-wise, that's how it's going to be.
And the only thing about that is one of the conversations that came up this week during the tournament, and I'm not contractually obligated to say UC Irvine, but it involved their team. And what people were saying was, gosh, it's noticeable how these other teams just rip their serves. They go for it and they get the points, and they notice that UC Irvine was a softer serving team. They only had really one kind of difficult server in Call Appleback on the jump serve, but for the most part, it was a big difference between the teams that just gripped it and ripped it. They were the ones getting the points and they're getting the wins, and the teams that are serving the easiest weren't.
Well, and it also helps for UC Irvine when you have a guy like Scott Chaddick in the middle blocking.
True.
When teams are in system.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, now I want to ask you, kind of looking at the matchup in this finals match, I can't recall a NCAA tournament in recent years where we've had two outstanding setters in Josh Tuaniga and Micah Maha. I want to ask you, first off, what do you think each one brings to the table? And if you guys had to pick, which one would you guys want on your team? Well, Jay, actually, I don't think we can ask this for NCAA rules, so I'll ask Rob.
Okay. You can ask me. I got to coach both of them, so I'll wait.
Okay.
I'll give my opinion.
Yeah, well, actually, before we do that, I will ask you, because that's right, Jay, you coached them with the junior national team. So just could you talk about your experience this summer with both of them on your roster?
Well, first of all, Josh Tuaniga, congratulations on being named the Player of the Year. I think that's well-deserved. I know there was a lot of people out in the volley talk world that were really upset that TJ didn't get it this year. But, Josh Tuaniga is the glue of that program. If anybody thinks differently, you're misinterpreting the whole thing. Josh Tuaniga is one of the best setters to ever come through college volleyball. Now, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, Tyler Hildebrand was better, or Chip McCaw was better, or James Shaw was better. Yeah, there are little nuances where some other people might be more powerful. They might be a better blocker. They might have a better serve. Maybe they run a better offense. But in terms of running a complete program and keeping people focusing forward and evening out all of the highs and lows that come with it and keeping everybody aggressive, Tuaniga is phenomenal. I love that kid. I would coach 100 of him if I could. Now, you take that and then you put Micah Ma'a into the mix. Micah is one of the most creative and most athletically gifted setters this sport has ever seen. Micah is cat-like, and you put people like him on the court, and I liken him a lot to a Tyler Hildebrand. I almost want to see Tyler be out of system because the creativity that would come out of it was just phenomenal. And Micah's the same way. Micah does things that most setters can't do and most people can't do. He's just so in tune with his body. So you put those two guys on the court together, and you've got two of the best setters that the game has ever seen going at it with each other. Now, anyone can argue one person might be better at location than the other. One person might be better at setting an offense better than the other. One person might be a better server. One person might be a better blocker. All of that stuff does come into play, but the fact remains is that you have two of the best court generals on the court on Saturday night that this game has ever seen, and that is going to be phenomenal volleyball to watch.
And the only thing that I'll add is, everything that Jay said is spot on, but what I'm seeing is the difference in Josh Tuaniga is this. He has got the cannons of Kyle Lansing and TJ DeFalco. And I think the big criticism of particularly TJ last year is, his head would be taken out of the game. He'd get down on himself and would take himself out. But his definition of being out of the game versus ours is totally different because he plays on such a higher level. But Josh is able to calm him down this year and keep a good balance on the team, even with the first-year libero in Molina and Simone Anderson, a first-year middle, and Amato, who's back. So he provides kind of like the heart and soul of the Long Beach State team, and that's where I see the difference in the way both those teams are run. Micah, as Jay said, he is a playmaker. He's Mr. SportsCenter Top 10, and he is so exciting to watch. Both setters offer such unique things for their teams, and they get results.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what you were saying, Rob, talking to Long Beach State this weekend, especially their assistant coach, Nick McCray, one of the things that he pointed out was we see all the greatness that Josh has been able to do on the court, but off the court, that may be where some of his biggest growth has come in the leadership ability that he's providing. And then also just the mental aspect of it as well. One of the great things, talking to TJ DeFalco earlier today, just talking about how this is a guy who basically at the age of 15 has been anointed one of the saviors of volleyball and has all these expectations, and how he's had to manage that, and just the fact that learning as a 21-year-old, yeah, there's going to be haters out there. This is how I have to deal with it, though, and embrace it and move on. And I think that it says a lot about those players at this young of an age, that they've learned some of these things that, to be honest, most people haven't figured out when they're 30 or 40.
Yeah, well, and you got to credit their staff to that. You know, you look at Alan Knight's staff, you look at John Sparrow's staff. Those are two of the best staffs in the country that can easily take our multifaceted kids across the board and help them get to be the best that they can. And that's why they're the two best programs in the country right now. That's why they're facing each other tomorrow. This is an epic matchup of epic proportions. You've got Long Beach, which is, historically a program that's not been in the top ranks all the time, but has always been in the hunt. And then you got UCLA, which has historically been the best program in 19 national championships, but has been a little bit on the downturn for the last 10 to 12 years. And so now all of a sudden, you've got these two teams that are hot at the right moment, and they're going into this final. I mean, if you're not glued to your TV tomorrow or not glued to your seat in the Pauley Pavilion, you are not a fan of this game. It is an epic battle.
All right. Now, we've talked a lot about the pins, but I do want to ask UCLA, Dana Gemma is having maybe one of the best postseasons we've seen from a middle attacker offensively. What is the way, if you're Long Beach State, can you stop him besides, hey, we have to get UCLA out of the system?
You got to serve tough. You got to take him out of the system and take Jim out. Now, here's the beauty. Jim is only in the offense for 3 rotations. So you've eliminated half the offense from him right out of the get-go. Secondly, you've got to be able to knock that team off the net and keep them on a system so that Jimma can no longer become an offensive weapon and they become a little bit more 1 or 2 dimensional. If you can do that, you've got some good chances. But if UCLA passes well, JT Hatch is one of the best liberos in the country. He's not even a true libero. He can play outside hitter. He can still set. He can do all those things, and he is still keeping that team in system. And then you got Dylan Mystery and you got Jake Arnett, who are two guys that are very capable of having a great passing night. It's going to be awfully tough. These two teams are historically ones that get after it when they serve, and they're not exactly the most efficient. So they're going to be going after it a little bit more often than not, because you've got to keep these guys off the net so that Jimma doesn't get, 25 to 30 sets a match.
Well, what's even scarier is, we talked about his defensive game and offensive game at the net, but especially during this tournament week, he's been so effective from the service line, and UCLA scores points when he's at the service line. So it's like a double whammy for anyone that plays against him, because he's cracking a laser-like serve, and then the front row just seems to rise to the occasion with Hessenauer and Martin at that right side or against the opponent's left pin. So, he's poisonous from all different angles.
Yep.
So looking at this match, and let's talk about the X factors really quick, and I'll kind of start off here. Look at maybe the player that isn't the big name that people are talking about, but could make the big difference. For me, I think it's UCLA's Dylan Misery. When you talk about this season, you just get a sense that there could be in the game plan for Long Beach State something along the lines of, hey, we're going to take away Hessenauer, give one-on-one matchups to Misery, and dare him to beat us. We'll see if that plays out that way. But for me, I think that he could be the big X factor tonight. What about you guys on your X factor?
Well, I'll tell you what. I had the pleasure of coaching Dylan as well this past summer. Dylan is an absolute workhorse, and he's got 2 speeds. He's got hard and harder. And so he goes up and he just bangs away at the ball. And if he gets blocked, he doesn't care. He goes back and he hits it even harder the next time. He's not exactly a shot maker like a TJ DeFalco, where he has a couple of different weapons that he can use with a roll shot or a tip or something here and there. I'll tell you, though, who I think, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Dylan Mystery, I think the real X factor is Kyle Ensing. I think he's going to be the guy that is going to take a lot of pressure off the rest of Long Beach State, because that kid just has it all. He's tall, he's strong, he absolutely has no slow gear whatsoever. We used him for seriously 3.5 straight weeks last summer. He never slowed down. That is the kid that I think could be the real difference maker for Long Beach State.
I think that my X factor for Long Beach State will be the defensive line behind the block of Bjorn Hoos, TJ DeFalco, and Junior Molina. because one of the things that I've seen, particularly in the last 3-4 weeks of the season's play, is a lot of plays that would be counted as dead balls or points by the other side. These guys just keep going. They dig balls. They go into the stands. They are grinding every point. And with that extra effort, they are winning the points on those rallies, which would normally be the opponent's points. So, because of that extra 1%, 2%, 3% they're putting in to go after balls, I definitely say that could tilt the scales in Long Beach State's favor. However, on the UCLA side, I think Christian Hessenauer is the key for UCLA's success. He gets TJ thinking on the attack at that pin, and they dig a couple balls with Hatch and, of course, Misri. They could be pretty successful too. And in the press conference today, the thing that I recognized the most was how relaxed and almost a good, quiet confidence Dylan Misri had going into today and tomorrow night's match.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we also know, at least, somewhat the coaches know around the country, DeFalco's main strength obviously is his service weapon and his attack game. His blocking game is not exactly the best part of his overall game, which it's not taking anything away from him. He's still an amazing player and obviously one of the top 2 players in the country every year. But that's not his strong suit, and that could be a real weapon for UCLA to go against him and make him pay a little bit.
All right, let's move to 1 or 2 quick hit topics here before we get into our final pick. The first will be attendance. Do we think that this match breaks 10,000 people there? I think it actually has a really good chance. I think this could be one of the most attended matches in NCAA men's volleyball history. What do you guys think?
I'm going to call it right now. The attendance is going to be 11,200.
Nice. Rob, what about you?
You know what? If other things weren't going on this weekend, I would say it would easily clear that. But I'm sitting here looking at the AVP Huntington Beach and the crowd that's on here, and also the fact that Gulf Shores is going on. We've shot ourselves in the foot yet again. But I feel like there is a good energy and a good vibe for Long Beach State followers, and they're going to be willing to take that drive up to 4:05, 4 hours early to get there on time. I think it'll be really close.
Yeah, well,
think about this. 2 Southern California teams playing in Southern California in the NCAA Division I Finals. That alone is going to push it over the top.
Definitely.
I also need to add that I found out from UCLA Sports Administration that they had over 800 students show up today just for last night's match, and they were right there in that backless seat area, and they were heckling great.
11,200. That's my call.
Well, and give Long Beach State also a lot of credit. They've actually organized team buses to go on up there to bring people up for tomorrow's night's match. So that's going to be a fun environment. Now, I do want to ask you, as we touched on it a little bit, I want to get your guys' thoughts because we had this on the net live on Monday. But if there's one thing besides tournament expansion that you would like to see change about this weekend, and it could be anything, what would you like to see changed?
I would like to see it not fall on the same weekend as any other NCAA volleyball finals, whether that's beach volleyball or whatever it is. We are a sport that should be taken seriously, and I know the NCAA is getting a lot of slack, and far be it for me to tell everybody to back off the NCAA, but the reality is that we are expanding and we are getting more and more notice every year. And we're at a point where we've got to start working hand in hand with people rather than fighting people. And I have been a very big opponent of the NCAA and the ABCA over the past number of years because I always felt like we weren't getting any support and we weren't getting any love. But I'm not changing my tune. I'm just changing my narrative. I'm trying to get people to understand what men's volleyball is doing. We are doing great things across the board. And we've got to start bringing people into the fray to understand the different cultures that each program brings to the table. Like, for example, USC and UCLA are completely different from George Mason and Sacred Heart. And those programs are completely different from Harvard and Princeton. And they all bring different flavors and different aspects to the table. And if people can start to understand that, like, for example, Hawaii this year. Hawaii is bitter that they didn't get in. And I understand that. But what Charlie Wade did was he invited him into his gym to give his fans a chance to watch great volleyball. That's what Hawaii loves. Hawaii fans are some of the best fans in the country because win, lose, or draw, they cheer on great volleyball. And so when they get the Stanfords and the UCLAs and the USCs in their gym and the BYUs, their fans are treated to an absolute amazing evening of volleyball. And that's what he's supposed to do. And when you look at Princeton, they're not expected to have that kind of pull. But what they are expected to do is to graduate these guys in 4 years. They don't get to redshirt. They don't have athletic scholarships, but they get a chance to compete at the highest level. And so when you look at those two ends of the spectrum, we have to start giving these teams respect for various reasons. And the NCAA has got to start pushing this to be to the forefront. We've got to start letting the fans and the young kids that are looking to go to programs to know that you don't have to be at this program or that program in order to fit into the mold. You can find one that fits your personality and your own culture just as well. So that's what I wish. I wish that we would get a little bit more push, and we need to change the narrative to become that men's volleyball is indeed the best sport out there in the NCAA.
I'm in full agreement with Jay, and just a simple, I'll reiterate, don't schedule things on the same weekend. I mean, I would be first on that list to go to both events and market both events and help grow the game, just because it's one of the most phenomenal games to watch. It's entertaining. It draws great people in, and, I mean, it's fast action. You can't ask for anything better. So, yeah, and they keep drawing on each other's fan bases. So I just want to be able to go to both, on different weekends.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you mine, and it dawned on me this weekend because every time of year it always comes up the awards banquet that happens with the NCAA, and the fact that the teams in the first round matches, if you don't win, you don't get participate. I think one simple solution that I would love to see the NCAA make, and maybe this isn't the NCAA to sponsor or something, but let's do an event on Monday night celebrating the 4 teams that are going to be playing in the first round match. Since all the teams are there, let's invite them to a sports bar, something like that. We can make it a community event. We can do Q&As with the players and really start building up these matches within the communities. That would be one of my easy, simple suggestions that possibly you could do.
I would absolutely agree with it. I think the student athletes that are on the outsides of the Final Four teams are kind of on the fringe of being able to say anything that they're a part of this NCAA event. The NCAA always says, we are here for the overall student-athlete experience. Here's the other thing I'm leaning towards. Don't be surprised. 6 teams is better than 4 teams, and 7 teams is better than 6 teams. Those are absolutely non-negotiable factors. We are excited that we have 7 teams. Don't get me wrong. But I think what this is really greasing the wheels for is that we're going to get to 8 teams by next year or 2020 at the very latest. It's going to be a weekend where there's going to be regional true Final Fours. When you look at how many people came to watch the Ohio State team game, I believe there was over 1,000 people at that match. That's a big deal. 1,000 people is a big deal. That was a play-in match that a lot of people could have said, Ohio State teams are going to win, we're not going to go. This is a cash cow if you look at it from that perspective. And I think there's an opportunity for the NCAA to say, look, we can take the weekend prior, and instead of having the play-in game where nobody else in the country plays except 2 teams, we could have true regional Final Fours that would create the true Final Four group that would go to the championship matches. And I think that is what's coming down the pike here. It's coming. We've just got to keep being positive and keeping everything moving forward.
Yeah. All right. Well, one final question. We'll let you go on this. It's pick time. I guess my question, I'll start us off here. I picked Long Beach State on Monday. I was very confident in that. Seeing the way UCLA played on Thursday night, I am very much wavering in that, but I am still going to take Long Beach State to win it. What about you guys?
Robbie, go ahead.
All right. Well, UCLA has been looking so good just in this tournament and in practices, and it's definitely, just like you, Vinny, it's made me waver a little bit, but it's that extra 1-2% that Long Beach State has been putting in all year long. So I've been seeing them get better and better each match. I have to give it to them, but I feel like it's going to be potentially a 5-set match because I feel like with UCLA being at home with their crowd, I feel like it has everything to set it up for a very special weekend, which John Speraw said that he was thinking about it last night. He goes, if they win this national championship, it'll be the 20th men's volleyball national championship. And how special that would be with Alex Scapes in attendance for him to do that in front of his mentor. So I feel like there's the X factor could push it even harder towards UCLA come tomorrow night.
All right, Jay, close us out.
I think those are all real valid points. Two, I've got three factors I think that come into play. One, we all know how tough it is to beat a team 3 times in a row. Two, we all know that playing at home is a lot better than playing on the road. And three, we all know that the best, or sometimes a loss could be a good loss that can propel you. And I think that last loss for Long Beach State a year ago in the semifinals motivated them throughout the entire year to get them ready for this point. I'm calling it 5 games, Long Beach State, 15-12 in the 5th.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be some absolute fun volleyball at Pauley Pavilion on Saturday night. And for all, match is going to be on ESPN2. We encourage everyone to watch it. But for all your pre-match and post-match coverage, you're going to want to be here at offtheblog.com. Big thanks to Rob and Jay for joining us as we break this down, which hopefully will be an epic championship game.